tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are writer-director Shonali Bose and actor Alex Quinn. Writer, director, producer, Shonali Bose was born and raised in India. She attended Miranda House College and earned a Bachelor of Arts at Delhi University. She went on to Columbia University in New York for her master's in political science. And after a stint at directing live TV, she came to Los Angeles to earn an MFA in the UCLA Directors Program. Throughout your school days, you were always looked at as an activist. You put groups together and you were always thinking about the better cause. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. I think I grew up always feeling conscious that I was from a privileged class and felt really strongly about how the majority of people were living their lives and about issues of oppression.
What kind of causes were you working on in New York?
Well, New York, of course, we had, the first Iraq war was going on. We had the invasion of Panama. I mean, U.S. imperialism is a huge thing. Like being somebody living here, you can't close your eyes to that, for me, certainly. And so same as then coming to LA, then we had, Iraq war is still going on. And that's something I just feel very strongly about.
You were very instrumental in that. When you were in India, do you go back and forth to India with causes in mind?
No, I go back and forth with my filmmaking and with my children because I want them to connect with home. Yeah.
You were acting before you were a filmmaker. Why did you give that up?
Because, I came here to grad school and I found that as an Indian actor, I was just very stereotyped and I didn't like the kind of role, so I turned to directing. Had I stayed in India, I'd have remained an actor. But being here, I wanted to tell different kinds of stories, and that's why I went into directing.
But what actually brought you to UCLA, the director's program, or to Los Angeles?
Yeah, the MFA in the film school. It's one of the best film schools. And
after you started directing, you started teaching it as well, teaching classes in directing.
Yes, after I graduated from UCLA at the NYFA, I taught directing for a short while.
So what do you like best?
I love directing, really. I found, Amu is it's my debut feature. And film school doesn't prepare you to make a feature film because you direct short films. And I was really nervous and intimidated because after graduating, I'd been a mother for 2 whole years and not been on a set. And then to walk on the set in India where there's like 100-people crew and this huge professional crew, it really was, I discovered it was my calling to direct. I love directing.
This is your film, Amu, your first film. It's full length. How many minutes?
It's a 1 hour 40-minute film.
It's an hour 40-minute film. It has a great cause involved. It also has a wonderful story. How did it come about?
So it's my first film. So when I graduated from UCLA and I was thinking about what the first script should be, and that was also hard to write the first script. And I remembered that when I was in first year college, like you talked about Miranda House, and at that time, as a freshman, this huge thing happened in my country where thousands of people of one community were killed by those in power. I will call it a genocide or a carnage.
You were in school at the time, so
yeah,
you were old enough to know what was going on.
Yes, I was fresher, and then I worked in the camps, met the survivors, and their stories have always haunted me. And when I graduated from film school, no film or book had been written, and the subject was still covered up 23 years later.
But why were you in the camps? Why were you hearing these stories?
As you said earlier, Joan, I was an activist all my life, and I think that in my own city, like so many people were killed.
What city was that?
New Delhi, the capital city of India.
Oh, it was?
Yes, and it was not just me, it was other students as well. We couldn't just carry on with our lives and our studies when such a thing has happened, so we went out to work in the camps and help people.
I thought it went on in smaller cities throughout.
It was only in the capital city, carried out by the government.
Oh, it was very specific then.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was in the smaller suburbs. So everyone must have known about it.
This is the whole thing. The entire world media were very conscious of it. All the world leaders arrived because the prime minister of the country had been assassinated. It was following that.
Oh, Indira Gandhi's
Yes,
assassination?
Indira Gandhi's assassination. So it's very much in the world media, but they portrayed it as a religious riot between two communities, which it absolutely was not. It was a government-orchestrated massacre of one community, controlled from the top to the bottom.
So did you write the book?
The book came after the film. I made the film first. I'm a filmmaker primarily, but Penguin loved the screenplay and said, make it a novel. I said, I'm not a novelist, but they really felt strongly it should be a novel. So I was the first filmmaker who had a novel and film come out on the same date in India.
They both came out together.
Yes, they came out together.
How did you have time to write it when you were making the film?
You know, as I was driving, I edited in LA, and as I was driving to my editor's suite, I tape recorded it as a novel, and then I just typed up that tape recording. I just had one chance because they wanted to bring it out at the same time.
I see. But and then Amu played at many festivals and won lots of awards. There's a whole list down there of festivals. And is that the way to go with an independent film like this?
Yes, I think the fact that we went Berlin and Toronto those were the two key festivals that really got us distribution. And even then, it's hard because there are so many international films you're competing with. The U.S. market is the toughest market, and that's why there's a 2-year lag between our Indian release and our U.S. release.
Oh, there was a 2-year lag. So when you wrote the book, you made the film. It opened in India.
Right away. It opened in India right away. The government censored it, but still we managed to open in theaters, and that was 2005.
So how long did it take you to write, edit, film, do all of that?
Just the process was, like 7 months, but right from when I got the idea to raising the money and making it, actually, I would say my son has gone from kindergarten to 7th grade.
Wow. But raising the money was a problem.
Yes,
you
because
got the
nobody
money.
wanted to touch this film because it's on when you're attacking a government, it's very easy when you want to just say ordinary people did it, people are barbaric, backward, people, that's what you get funded for.
Quote, people.
But when you say a democratic country like India, world's largest democracy, its government carried out a massacre, everyone's scared to touch such a subject, no one wants to talk about it. And I received threats as I was shooting it as well. So it's a difficult thing to take on.
So as you said once when you were doing a Q&A at one of the theaters in Los Angeles, you got the funding and then they withdrew it. And then you had to start looking for money again. And the magic check came, which was your seed money.
Yes, my husband is a NASA scientist and invented the world's smallest camera, and it was a patent for that, which was a really small amount, but still, we acted as if we had the whole money and went into pre-production with it and then found the rest.
So your husband produced it with you?
Yes.
And as you say, he had the patent on the smallest camera, which then came into digital.
Well, it's what you see in your cell phones today. That's his invention.
Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
It's amazing. And did he ever want to be part of the filmmaking? I mean, because he comes from a scientific background.
Yeah, but he's very creative too, and so he's been very involved in the whole process of the story, and he's an activist too. So the issue also is something he feels strongly about.
So when you got to India and you showed it in the films, you were threatened when you were making it, but they wouldn't let you show it on TV.
Yes, actually in this sense, Joan, what it is that, so for the theatrical release, they censored 5 lines, all the lines that attack the government, which, I went with that, and what I did is I silenced those lines. So when the characters spoke, you couldn't hear the answer, which was very powerful because Indian audiences reacted even more strongly because their silence was louder than their words. But the censor board, they gave it an R rating, and I said, why? There's no sex and violence in the film. Why are you not going to let 18 and under watch it? My 10-year-old has watched it. And they said, why should young people know a history that is better buried and forgotten? And this is the official censor board of the country 23 years later. So because of that, Indian television does not show R-rated films. Because of that, it cannot release on Indian TV.
Oh, that's how they did it.
Yeah.
They were very clever in the way they kept you off of it. What was, say, one of the lines, and how did you silence or change it?
So for instance, one of the protagonists asked one of the widows who was affected by this, he says, because his own father's in government and he's very conscious about what his father may or may not have done. So he says, wasn't it just 1 or 2 politicians? And she says, no. They were all involved. The government, the police, the bureaucrats, them all. So he asked that question, and then you can't hear her answer. And in Indian theaters, it was like a ripple going through the audience saying censored, censored, because they realized that it's a censored line.
So you took her, she was mouthing it. And when we saw it with the subtitles, you had the subtitles.
Well, in the what you saw,
Right.
you heard it as well,
Yes,
because
I
in the U.S.
I
it's the
see,
uncensored.
I see.
Yes.
So where did you shoot, actually?
We shot entirely on location in Delhi because I really also wanted to capture the vibrancy of India and the excitement of the streets of India. So it was really hard because shooting a sing-sound film amidst hundreds and thousands of people, cows, cars, and things like that was not easy.
Did you have permits?
You have to get permits, of
Oh, you
course.
did?
But it's
So-
much easier than getting permits in Los Angeles.
And
yes.
then what about the bloody riot scenes? Because those were terrible. They were so real.
You know, but if you remember, I didn't actually show any killing because for me, we see enough violence on television. And I think as audiences, we're inured to seeing violence. And I didn't want to do that. So if you remember, it's really from the child's point of view. It's actually on the child's face for the most part. And you only see little bits of it. And this was really important for me as a, aesthetic and political point as a filmmaker.
This is this reminds me of the disappeared in Buenos Aires when the politicians came in and people were disappearing off the streets. This was more of a bloody riot, and they made it more of a religious kind of thing rather than a political thing. But were there other films made about this?
No, but this is very political because the government tried to, it's very good that you raise the point of Argentina, and it's very similar to that kind of thing.
That's what it seemed like.
And because they didn't even do an official body count, but it's as organized as Argentina. It's just that the media portrayed it as as ethnic violence, religious violence, including US media. But actually what Amu brings out strongly is, and all the survivors told me, it's that they were alive because their Hindu neighbors protected them.
Oh, that's
so
something.
Thousands are alive for that reason, which is really an empowering and important point as well.
So it wasn't between Hindus and Sikhs
Not at
because
all.
they were protecting each other.
Absolutely.
Oh, so that's
And
how you-
every time communal violence takes place in the country, that is what happens. Ordinary people are not killing each other. It's always organized. Ordinary people come to the defense of each other. Yeah.
That's really. And you've dedicated the film?
I dedicated the film to my mother. She was a brilliant actor. She had just done The Far Pavilion, and she died in a very tragic way, in an unjust way in the country. Nothing to do with this, but both happened to me when I was an undergrad, and so I,
So it must have been very tense
Yeah, actually
for you.
I came to the US because of that, because I needed to leave India. I was so upset about it, and so that's why I came here.
And what's next?
The next film is a big narrative drama, period drama, set in 1930 India, when the British were still ruling India. So it's about this uprising that teenagers and young women carried out against the British at a time when the mainstream Indian leadership, including Mahatma Gandhi, was saying that we have to compromise with the British, because try and remember, that was the biggest colonial power in the world, and nobody had the guts to take it on. And these youth said, we can defeat the British. And they carried out this successful uprising in 1930, which has again been buried. I did a history major in Miranda House. We didn't read about it.
Why was it buried? Was that political
Because it's a
too?
revolutionary struggle, and what they've tried to bring out is more the, non-revolutionary, because they wanted to bury anything that was such a powerful revolution. And they tried to just bring out the non-violent struggle of Gandhi.
I see. Oh, because they always talked about Gandhi as a man of peace. But he was helping these people, right?
No, he actually
helping,
didn't help them. You see, his positions are really problematic because he was so dogmatic. So if people are taking on a different kind of movement, he rejects it. So there were like a 22-year-old boy who threw a bomb in the parliament, not injuring any person, to make a loud noise. His remark was, I'm making a loud noise. His name was Bhagat Singh, and he was hanged by the British, and the whole of India rose against it. And Gandhi could have stopped the hanging, but he didn't, because the boy took up armed struggle, or took up a different means than what Gandhi did. And that's problematic to me. And he rejected Chittagong as well because of that.
What's the name of it?
Chittagong.
Chittagong. Thank you, Amu, Chittagong, Shonali Bose.
Thank you so much,
for being
Joan.
with us.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching this part of the Joan Quinn Profiles. We'll be right back with Alex Quinn. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with actor Alex Quinn. He is not related to me. Years ago, when I was covering a charity party when I worked for the Herald Examiner, I asked Alex's Academy Award-winning father, actor Anthony Quinn, if we were related, and he said, sure. I don't think we are, but if you want to be, just go ahead and say we are. So, Alex, maybe we're related.
Well, I think we very well could be. I mean, I have sisters your age. I don't see why that would pose as a problem.
There we are. So Alex was born and raised in Los Angeles. He attended Crespi Carmelite High School and earned a Bachelor of Arts from Emerson College in Boston. Did you have thoughts of becoming an actor when you were in college?
Well, I think it stems all the way back to my childhood. I would, there was my brother and I living in the household, and I would often go hide in my bedroom and I would make radio shows. So a very, very long time, I wanted to be a radio show host. I went to college. I pursued that. I did college radio.
Emerson was good, wasn't it? They had
Very good.
have on the Commons, don't they have a little thing
they
set
do.
up, a radio?
And I did some fantastically horrible radio shows.
You did.
And I decided to maybe make my transition into film, since I was always, a fan of motion pictures. And I started borrowing equipment from the university. We put some crews together. I made some films.
Oh, you did? In
Yes.
Boston?
Yeah, and I had a lovely time doing that, and I found it to be much more exciting than the world of radio. And, there was also a time when I wanted to maybe give the the night talk show circuit maybe a try and do a talk show.
That was very popular, nighttime TV, a little spooky. No, nighttime radio,
Yeah.
a little spooky, right?
So I've always had this fascination with entertainment and media and being involved in front of the camera or what have you.
Who is the brother? Is he in
His
film?
name is Sean.
Uh-huh.
He's not in film. He's actually in the East Coast right now. He's doing real estate.
Oh, he's not?
No,
So
he's farthest away from.
did
well,
you
I think real
use him?
estate-
Did you use him in any of your productions?
I didn't. I questioned his acting ability.
Oh,
a bit.
Under the Bed you didn't do?
Well, he's a real estate agent, so I guess he's still acting.
You talked about your family. I mean, it's a long range from your father's kids,
Right.
from my age down to, are
Yeah,
you the
there's 100
youngest?
children.
About? Do you know them all?
I can name them, but I won't. But yeah, there's 12 children, and they all live all over the world. And some of us are close, some of us are not. It's a big family.
And what about the wives? What
The
wife
wives,
was your mother?
They do their own thing.
What was your mother?
She was one of the last ones. Well, there was, yeah, but no, it was an interesting family growing up, and you always heard of brothers and sisters, but
Were they coming and going in the house?
not really.
No?
They were already, I'm the youngest
Oh, they
adult.
were-
They were
oh.
older.
They were gone, huh?
Yeah, they had their own children and grandchildren already.
What's your mother's name?
My mother's name is Friedel.
And she's
She's
German, you
German,
said?
yeah.
Does she live here now?
She does, physically.
And you-
Mentally, I'm not sure.
But you don't speak Italian from your father's side or Spanish from your father's side?
I know a little bit of Spanish, conversely. If I'm in Mexico, I could probably find my way to a bathroom.
But you speak.
That's mostly the limit. I mean, I speak German. I was raised speaking German in my household. All my relatives are German on my mother's side.
Oh, did you go to Germany a
I
lot?
went every year until I was 18.
Oh, so
for
you
4 months out of
have-
the year.
Ah.
So I've tried. I think I had a very tremendous upbringing. I was very fortunate, well traveled, and I think I spoiled myself too soon, because now the realities of traveling is
You don't want to go anymore, do you?
Well, I do, but I didn't have to pay for it back then.
That's one of the realities.
So when you're a child, it seems like the world is your Disneyland.
So you have to get an acting job that'll take you on
Exactly.
location
That's,
somewhere.
some people pick their parts by where they shoot.
Yeah, that's
You know,
right.
I end up with the ones that shoot in East LA. In the middle of the afternoon when it's 110 degrees. So.
Your father was a living legend. Do you find that hard to hear all the time? Does it hamper or does it help?
No, it's not hard to hear. I think it's well deserved. I mean, he was a genius. He was truly a genius, well-read, huge art collector, huge artist himself, dedicated every day to his work. So, if anything, I think he set the bar extremely high for any of his children or anyone related to him.
Did you learn all of that? Were you watching him? He was a painter, right?
Yeah, I was an observer. I mean, he was very private. He wouldn't paint in front of anyone, but
Oh, he didn't?
No, it was very personal to him. He didn't want an audience when he was creating. But he was a very intelligent man, and so no, it's not uncomfortable to hear whatsoever.
You know, when you say Anthony Quinn's name, everybody thinks of different films that he was in. One of the great ones was Zorba, where he played a Greek, but he
Right.
wasn't Greek at all. But he played ethnic roles,
Well,
right?
the thing is, my father was so culturally diverse. Different cultures appreciate different films. And
That's true.
you know, the Greeks, they love Zorba. The Italians love La Strada.
Right.
And the Americans tell me they loved him in The Godfather, which he wasn't in, so they're a little misinformed.
Is that right? They do say that? So you just go, yes, yes.
No, so, well, you know,
Well,
it's a different audience. Different audiences appreciate various films of his. You know, he did some very popular films in the Muslim, culture. He did Muhammad.
So he covered the gamut, didn't he?
Right. You know, there's not that many actors who do that today. There's actually very few who can. I can't name one who can do bilingual films. Well, some of the Asian actors are doing it, but.
You know, he won 2 Academy Awards, and you've acted in a couple of films with Academy Award winners.
I did.
Martin Sheen for one, right?
Martin Landau.
Oh, Martin Landau.
Yeah.
Did you work with Martin Sheen too?
No, although I wish it would have been Martin Sheen. We can add him to the list.
Well, let's add him.
Yeah.
What was it? What was Martin Landau's?
I did a small picture with him that should remain nameless because it was a terrible picture. And we both thought it was terrible, and we both almost ended up wanting to sue the director and the filmmaker. So, but the experience of being with him and being involved in a picture with him was great. He was a wonderful teacher, and he's actually a wonderful man.
He has a daughter who's an actress too.
I've
know?
heard of that.
Yeah,
I haven't met her.
But another Academy Award winner was Faye Dunaway.
Faye Dunaway, yes, I did.
Right?
I did a film with her in Atlanta.
What was that? The Last Goodbye?
That was The Last Goodbye. That was also with the daughter of Sybil Shepherd, Clementine Ford.
Oh.
It was with the daughter of Andy Garcia, Dominique Garcia.
Really?
It was with the son of Mark Rydell, Chris Rydell. And David Carradine was in the picture as well.
Were you all actors? Had you all been to school, all the children of?
Yeah, we had been. Actually, we were on 2020 because they found it quite fascinating that all these relatives of actors had been together. And Faye was definitely an interesting character. She's a perfectionist, to say the least.
Did you know her before?
I hadn't, but she had done her first movie, The Happening, with my father in the 1950s. And it just so happened that her son's first movie was Last Goodbye, and he was doing that with me. So there was some sort of correlation there.
Who cast it to find all these people? What was the story about?
The story was about a rock band, a traveling rock band, and the lead singer is having a romance with one of the most popular actresses in America in the fictional world of the film.
So that was very cool.
Yeah, it was interesting. You know, we were in Atlanta for 2 weeks, actually 3 weeks, and I enjoyed it, every moment of it. I always enjoy working, though. Who doesn't? You know, when you can catch a break and catch a part in a film, you're always happy. You're always excited.
Did you take acting classes?
I did. I got kicked out of the one in college because I was late too many times.
No, but you were working in college. You
Well,
were
I
doing
know.
a lot of stuff.
But I enrolled in an acting class, and I remember I had to stand like a tree or something for a couple classes. And
I thought that was high school stuff.
and become a bush for half an hour. And then on the third, so I wasn't too enthusiastic about it, so I showed up late a couple times, and the guy said, "You're out of here."
But we have a lot of acting teachers here. Or did you take classes in New York?
I
or?
took classes in Los Angeles as well. You know, I enjoy it. Obviously, I enjoy the work more. I'm always acting. I'm always having fun. I'm always a goofball.
Do you think that's
I'm around
all?
a lot of actors and artists.
Yeah. Do you
So-
learn from them? Do you pick up from
I'm
them?
a great observer of individuals. I imitate people very well and very quickly, but don't worry, I won't imitate
No
you.
imitating. One of the other films, The Devil Inside and The Curse of Alcatraz, let's talk about that.
Well, to make a long story short, I've been involved in 8 independent films, none of which have been any success. But, it's the experiences that you go after. It's playing these characters. I just did a picture called Lake Dead. That was, finally I can show my friends something that I was involved in that I'm actually not embarrassed about.
What kind of characters do you play?
They tend to give me the characters that are jerks.
Really?
Yeah.
Like not mean?
No, they tend to give me the characters that have the attitude, are not
Oh.
the nicest to people. I don't know, they said it befits me. Although,
Arrogant?
well, arrogant sometimes. I'm a confident guy. I like to have fun. I like to enjoy my life. I'm not too insecure about things.
Did you get any tips from your father other than observing about acting? Any acting tips?
Don't get married and don't be an actor. And don't have.
Is that what he said?
Well,
No.
the acting part, he said. He
you're
said, don't
saying-
get involved in acting.
So did you ever do any
And he
stand-
said, always get in a relationship with an older woman.
Older woman and an Armenian woman?
Yes.
No, that's not what he said.
But always, he said, date older women. They'll teach you about life.
Well, did he start out like that?
Well,
Maybe.
he did.
Maybe.
So I think there's a future for us together.
One of the things that I think is very, very interesting is the producer side of you, where you have Alex Quinn Presents.
Right. That's
What
an
do you
event.
present?
I present private events.
That's interesting. How'd you get started doing that?
I started getting involved. The company hired me to do a party for them because they knew that I had a bunch influential friends, and they basically wanted my friends to attend their party. So they wanted my name on the party so my friends would come. And so, you know, the finances and everything looked good to me.
I was going to say, they paid you as a producer
Yeah.
to bring
There
your
was
friends?
compensation involved.
Okay.
Financially. And I decided that I observed that I did 2 parties with them, and I felt that, I guess in an arrogant way, that I could do it better than they've been doing it, and I should start my own company. And why should I bring my friends to someone else's event when I can produce the event myself and cut out the middleman?
So what kind of events are they? They dances, dinners?
We do launches for companies, small companies.
Oh.
We've been involved in a charity. We did a beautiful event at the W Hotel with Operation Smile, children born with cleft palates in Ecuador.
Yes, I know that. Oh, that's great. So you organize the party, you get the celebrities there, or you get the people there,
we get the
or
media
what?
there, the red carpet, all that jazz.
You do all of that?
Yes. It's interesting work. I enjoy it. It can
You have
on the
to
night
get-
of the event, it's more of a pain.
Do you get
I arrange
the
everything.
chefs, the flowers, all that?
I arrange everything.
Everything.
Yes.
So do you cook? Can you
Thinking of
cook at your parties?
Can I cook? I'm a splendid cook.
Are you?
May I tell you?
But you can't cook for 1,000 people.
No, well, I could. It would take a while. I don't have no, but I
What's your
don't.
favorite recipe?
My favorite recipe? Well, I cook really healthy. I cook a lot of chicken, and I cook a lot of steaks. I'm on a diet at the moment.
And how do you cook them?
Well, it's actually not a diet. It's a new way of looking at life. No more fast food for me.
Oh, please. Good
Except
for
an
you.
occasional hamburger.
Okay, once in a while. Have you thought of writing or directing?
I write, but like my father was well written too. However, my father never showed anybody his writings.
Oh, but don't you have a script?
Well, I have. Yeah, I have.
You're selling somewhere.
Well, there's a few scripts that I have. Correct. Yeah, there are. But I don't talk about them too much. But yeah, we have scripts, and I'm shopping it with people that I'm friends with and associated with, and trying to make my own path.
I think that's
not putting my future in other people's hands.
I think that's the best way.
Well, if you can sit around all day looking for a part and waiting for the part and waiting for the phone to ring, but half the people in town can't get arrested, so you got to go make it happen.
So do it.
Of course, go do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this part of the Joan Quinn Profiles. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, on Los Angeles 90017. And we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles. Thank you.